Hey, hey, hey. Welcome to my channel. My name is Emmy from Emmy Evolving. If this is your first time joining, please do hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, join me every single time I'm live. So I am live on both Facebook. I'm live on both Facebook and YouTube right now. And I just wanted to talk real quick. I kind of got to thinking about a few things, the deep thoughts. You know how that goes. So I got to thinking about a few things, and I happened to see a post that I found so ridiculously beautiful, like just so ridiculously beautiful. And it's talking about how, you just send love to the person that you love. It was just beautiful. Like, oh my God, where's my phone? Well, I just posted it. Anyways, I just posted it on my Facebook page. But it really, really got me to thinking because um, I have I guess you could say a unique sort of relationship with my husband. Um, it's it kind of makes me sad to say that it's unique because it really should be how um, people's relationships are. It should be the norm, but unfortunately, it's not. I totally am the kind of person where it's like, and I haven't always been this way, but I've reached a point in my life where it's like, I love you. And if I love you, I just love you. It's not something you have to earn. 96% at 655. 966 96655. Love it. But it's not something you have to earn. It's not something you have to maintain. It's just something that is. And when you love someone, it should free them. It shouldn't make them feel caged. It shouldn't make them feel as though they have to earn that love, as though, if they're not a better version of themselves or just how you want them to be, that they're not going to be worthy of that love. It's kind of sad because the way I see society at this point, and I feel like I'm so removed from society because I don't really partake in the pop culture. I don't follow the trends. I kind of just am off doing my own thing, and I once in a while I pop back in and I see how society has become, and it just really saddens me because the norm at this point is like disposable relationships, and people, generally speaking, they expect someone to commit to them and invest in them, but they're not willing to do that for someone else. Like, they want to be taken care of without taking care of the other person. And I mean, what does that tell you? How far have we backslid from our original point of greatness, a greatness that involves omnilove? Omnilove is love in its totality. You know, I also realized when I saw that post earlier, um, I think the reason I've gotten to where I'm at mentally and emotionally, uh, I've kind of come to the realization, if for any reason at all, it doesn't even matter what the reason is, if for any reason at all I'm no longer with my husband, I'm still going to keep loving him. And it's not going to matter to me how it looks to other people, because we've become so afraid of how we're going to look, how other people are going to think of us if, I don't know, if we don't adhere to society's standards of how relationships are to be. Like, heaven forbid someone make you look like a fool. Well, how are you going to look like a fool if you're not a fool? I don't understand that. If you don't deem yourself a fool, how do you look like a fool? because the way other people see you, it's a reflection of how you're feeling inside. You know, it's a reflection of how you're feeling inside. And so when I came to the realization, like, I don't care if people think I'm stupid for continuing to maintain a very healthy, very loving relationship with an ex-husband or whatever. I mean, I'm not planning for this. I'm just saying, like, I don't care how it would look. I've told people before and they were shocked. I was like, yeah, no. I mean, if you ever decided one day, like, yeah, I don't want to be with you anymore, I'd be like, okay, fine. That's fine. Go be happy. Does that mean I'm gonna kick him out? No. I'm gonna separate our finances? No. He's an amazing father to our children. We're gonna co-parent. We can cohabitate until it's to a point where, he doesn't feel like cohabitating anymore, and then he can have his own place, but he's still going to be fully supported by me and everything that he does. Like, the love that you share, just because you experience ugly moments, just because you experience something that causes you to be so hurt that you no longer want to continue investing in that connection, it doesn't suddenly disappear. Those good times that you experience together, it doesn't suddenly become void as though it never happened. All of those amazing things still very much happened. At one point, the two of you were so aligned that it created a feeling of love. And I think what we're really needing to come to terms with is that we are taking ownership of other people. We get into relationships and we fail to realize we don't own them. They're not ours. They're sharing their path with us. For however length of time, they're sharing their path with us. They're willingly and consciously choosing to share space within themselves and in their environment. They're sharing space with you is all it is. And once you recognize that, when I recognized it, the fear of losing ownership kind of went away. I mean, are you afraid to lose your rental car? Do you feel fear and anxiety knowing you have to give the rental car back? No, right? If you're just borrowing a lamp from the neighbor, are you like worried that someone else is going to take the lamp? No, it's not yours. You're just using it for that moment. And you're thankful, hopefully. You're thankful that you have that in the moment that you need it. And maybe if we see things in that way, where the people who come to us, they're there when our soul needs them to be present. And they're free to come and go as they please. Maybe if we really wrap our mind around that, we won't have that fear of loss, because you can't lose something that doesn't belong to you. There's no owning another soul. So Carol says soul contracts, some need to be closed off. According to whom? Because from what I understand, we have no idea the details of these contracts. We might have an idea that there's a contract. And this is not to correct you, Carol. This is to like get people to question and think within themselves and look for answers within themselves. But from what I've really come to recognize, for the most part, even the most sensitive of us, the most highly gifted, we're really just aware of like certain aspects of the contract. We don't see the fine print, because oftentimes the fine print is printed in the music of the heart, and that's not something that you can hear. That's something you feel. And until you go through the circumstance that causes you to feel the things that will bring your attention to those details, the fine print, you're oblivious to it. And so when we begin to close ourselves off, I mean, we do stand a very real chance of closing things off prematurely. I'm guilty of this. I'm absolutely guilty of this. This is something that I've done many, many times. And I do still have, and I'm not just talking about like failed romantic relationships. I'm talking about just my connections with other people, period, where I've closed doors a little too quickly. And then I'm left wondering, like, was that the right thing? Why did I even do that? And when you start having these conversations with yourself, you begin to realize just how much most of your actions are actually ruled by fear of loss, fear of abandonment, fear of, being worthless. And all of those fears are so unnecessary. You have an intrinsic worth. It's when you try and hold on to something that you'll begin to realize this is because I feel like I'll never be worthy of something like that again. Like, I feel like I'm not enough. And, for me, um, I'm recognizing I'm absolutely worthy of love. What kind of love? I don't know. There's different forms of love. I don't know. I don't know. But in this moment, and I don't know if that changes or not, in this moment, I know the kind of love that I'm sharing with a very specific individual is like custom tailored to what I need right now, what I want right now. I was talking to someone earlier today, and I was like, I'm still actively in love with my husband. This is not like, yeah, that's my husband. We've been together for forever. That's my husband. Like, no, like, I like to see him. I look forward to spending time with him. It's granted our relationship is not perfect, but that's the perfection of it. It's a real thing. It's not something that's just like for show. If you guys notice, I don't post much about us. You'll see us interacting here and there, or hear us interacting here and there. But for the most part, that aspect of my life, um, it's not a secret, but it's something so sacred. It's just for me. It's just for me and for him to share. And in that moment of selfishness, because some people might be like, that's selfish. You should share that. It's a beautiful thing. You should share that. No, no, it's between us. It's something that we've cultivated. And as a farmer, if you're cultivating these crops and you want to harvest the seeds that you've sown, does that mean just because you're a farmer, you have to give it all away to other people? No, it doesn't. But does that mean just because I don't share as much of my marriage and my relationship, does that mean that I own it? No, it's something I'm co-creating with another person, and we don't own each other. Like, we do tell each other that you're kind of stuck with me, dude. That's because we choose to be. We choose to be. And if at any point that changes, either he changes his mind, I change my mind, nothing changes about the fact that we have shared 20 years of our existence together, getting to know each other on such a deep level, being there in like the darkest of times. And here's the thing, people think that relationships can't have any arguing. And if there's arguing, if there's disagreement, if there's like, get the fuck out the house, I don't want you here, that, oh, it's over. No, it's over when at least one of you isn't trying to keep it going. There's going to be times in a real marriage, in a real relationship, there's going to be times, sometimes more more often than not, where one of you will be like, you know what, I don't even know why I'm here. I don't even know what the hell we're doing here. And as long as one of you is willing to fight for that to continue, there's something worth looking into. And what ends up happening is people get so caught up in like, nah, you ain't gonna play me for a fool. Nah, you ain't gonna play me. Nah, you ain't gonna play me. And then guess what? They're not playing you, you're playing yourself. It's that fear that you cannot survive an event in your life. Why are you so afraid? Why are you so afraid that you would run from the very thing for some of us that grows you? And this is not to say that, if you're being abused and just not treated very well, that you hang in there. No, no. This is not to perpetuate abusive cycles. This is for us to understand there is so much dynamic complexity within a relationship. It's not one thing, this pretty packaged thing that movies sell us. It's and you people, y'all, for those of you that have witnessed even a little bit the interaction between my husband and I, a lot of people when they witness this, they like comment to me like, you have such an amazing marriage. We don't celebrate anniversaries. We don't celebrate, Valentine's Day. We don't like go on dates. I don't even wear a wedding ring. Sometimes he wears one. I don't wear one. I have a beautiful, beautiful, bougie ass diamond ring. Okay, with the channels and all that. It's gorgeous. But I don't wear it because no, my love is not ownership of you. Your love is not ownership of me. Our love is so much more than that. It's a coming together of two completely separate entities and a choosing to stay together. And we wouldn't have a relationship this strong. It's not perfect in the movie sense, okay? We wouldn't have a relationship this solid if we didn't go through all of that bullshit for how many years? For how many years? We went through so much and we still chose to stay together. At the end of the day, after all the fuck yous were said, at the end of the day, come lay with me. I don't want anyone else to lay beside me. And this is not about like, hey, we got relationship goals. No, this is about recognizing a real relationship. This is real. We fight. I say some crazy ass off the wall shit to him when I get mad. And I have no problem cutting people off and be like, doors closed, you don't exist. But this guy, you make me so fucking mad. Come lay with me. I don't have to stay. He doesn't have to stay. Yet we choose to stay. I mean, that's some shit right there. That is some shit right there. And if you're not willing to go and have that kind of growing process, if you need things to be perfect and you need to be able to own someone else, that's going to be one lonely ass life. Because no one's ever going to measure up. What you want is your identical being. You want a clone of yourself, someone who thinks like you, acts like you, loves like you, because let's face it, love is expressed in different ways. The way I show love is not the way he shows love. The way he shows love is not the way I show love. So why am I going to expect him to express his love in a different way when he's a different person? How does that work? And then you take that a step further and you start to realize, oh shit, I'm trying to make that person express their love the way I express my love because I need to be right. I don't want to be wrong because I'm scared that I'm not living right. That's deep. That behavior is rooted in fear. It's not rooted in actual problems in the relationship. The relationship isn't really the problem. Once you recognize this, the relationship is not the problem. It's you. Something within you needing to be healed, and that person has so lovingly volunteered to be the sounding board for you. On a soul level, they were like, you know what? I'll do this for you. I'll do this. I'll trigger all kind of shit within you. So you can pay attention and recognize these are the things within you that need to be healed, that you need to work on so you can heal it. But we don't recognize that because we're so busy with like, oh, you're fucking up. It's you, you're fucking up. I'm just saying, guys. I'm just saying. So when do you let go? When is it time to let go? I mean, in most relationships that end, one person is not willing to let go and the other person is like, it's done. What do you guys think? So Jen says, and are you happy? You must also be happy to love freely. I tell you this, when my husband met me, and for many, many years after we first began dating, I was a very, very unhappy person. Very, very, very unhappy. And I was very, very, very good at putting on a front for everyone else but him. Everyone else thought I was just the funniest, most enjoyable person to be around. But when it was just me and him, that shit was real. It was raw. There was no giggles. So, do you also have to be happy to love freely? No. That's following the same logic of you have to love yourself first in order for someone to be able to love you. And I'm standing as a testament to the fact that that's bullshit. Because before I met him, I didn't know how to love myself. When I met him, I didn't know how to love myself. While I was with him, I didn't know how to love myself. And it took him many, many, many years to convince me that that's bullshit, that I deserve to be loved, that I deserve to be happy. So if he were to do something that I felt was a breach of my trust and that the relationship is done, does it negate all of that? Everything he's gifted me in my journey, all the lessons that he's helped me to learn, does that suddenly all of that was bullshit? It was fake and none of it is real? I would have to say no. It doesn't negate any of that. It still happened. The time that it happened, it was real. And sometimes things shift and the real becomes a different kind of reality, but it still doesn't negate what happened. The kind of love that was established at one point. So Jen says, I lost my ex because I took possession of him and denied my own reality I learned after losing him. And she agrees. And that was the gift he gave you, that learning. And for some of us, we choose to only learn it after it's done. And that's still okay. That's still okay. They still contributed so beautifully to your growth. 81% at 717. 888. Oh my God. The numbers are speaking. The numbers are speaking. So what is the point of this live stream? Nothing. Nothing. It's just a sharing of thoughts. Am I right? I don't know. Does it resonate? Am I wrong? I don't know. I just know this is what I've lived through. I know that people often ask me about love, and then I see a post that really, really just inspires me to share just a little bit more about my own life. And my life is so far from picture perfect that it's perfect. Does that make sense? because picture perfect is fake. It's not living. It's a snapshot of a moment. So maybe we can begin to reestablish the actual definition of perfect, of perfection, to be so far from that picture perfect that it becomes perfect. To understand that, because my husband and I, we're polar opposites, like polar opposites for everything. I swear to God, it drives me so insane. And then he said something one day. He said something to me one day, and it clicked. It was in the middle of an argument. I was just so pissed off, and I was just like really going into him about like this and that and this and that, and then he just looked at me. He's like, "Sounds like you want to be with you. I'm not you. You want to be in a relationship with yourself." I was like, "How dare you say that to me?" And then I thought about it. Well, fuck. That's true. It was a laundry list of how to be me. And you know what? This is the most fucked up part. This is what blew my mind. I don't even like me. At that time, I didn't even like who I was. I didn't like myself. And I was trying to force this man to be me, who I didn't like. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? And in mine, I've printed out the divorce papers. You sign here, sign right here. I don't want to be with you. And he's just like, you know what? You say all kind of crazy ass shit. You want to be with yourself? Fine. Be with yourself. I don't want to be with myself. I don't like me. So there's so many things that we really need to begin just thinking about. And it's not about me needing you to say that I'm right or any of this. This is really about just sparking that internal dialogue that we all should be having within ourselves, not a monologue, a dialogue where you really ask your soul, like, where is this coming from? What are these thoughts that are running through my head? Am I just afraid of the greatness that I know this relationship could be, that maybe I can feel that this is going to be something that's going to change my life and help mold me as a person? And I don't know if I'm enough. I don't know if I'm going to fail. So let me just scurry away. Let me sabotage this before it even starts. I don't know. For some of us, that might be true. For some of us, it's probably the furthest thing from the truth. But the fact is, you won't know unless you have these conversations with yourself. You won't know. I don't have those answers for you. No one has those answers for you, because you can get as many sessions, 77% at 721. I love it. You can have as many clairvoyant, psychic, whatever sessions with as many people as you want. But this is the truth of it, okay? I'm going to tell you guys flat out the truth of it right now. I have a very high accuracy rate. When I do readings for people, it's a very high accuracy rate. But here's the catch. It's a high accuracy rate for your mindset in that moment. Anything in your mind shifts. That event that I just saw that probably would have happened had you never asked me is now something else. So in reality, the answer that you sought is no longer an answer. The question has changed. The equation now has a new component. So the answer is now going to be different. I mean, so does that mean don't get sessions? No, it means you have to understand these clairvoyant sessions that you have with me or anyone else, they have always only ever been to confirm what guidance your soul is already giving you. So when you're getting this feeling in your heart space, like butterflies, and you're thinking about, I need to leave, this is a shitty relationship, and you're getting these butterflies and you want to vomit, and you're like, no, but he's not this and that. And what are you doing? What are you doing? Do you really need to leave, or are you just afraid that they're going to leave first? That they're going to recognize that you're not enough, and so you cut out first before they can recognize that about you? Shaman Renee. She says the mathematical formula is irrelevant. It's all just numbers. Crunch them however you want. They're all just numbers. The numbers don't do anything until you put meaning behind them. Even the symbols, the equations are not equations unless you have definition to each symbol. So what happens now? Do we kind of just like, oh, this was cool, and then go back to still doing the same old, same old? I don't know. I don't know. I just know that at this point, I'm done with a certain part of my life, and I need to start thinking more loudly. I know that I didn't go through all the things that I've gone through in my life so that I could hoard all that wisdom that I acquired through the pain. I know that without a shadow of a doubt. I know that I no longer have the feeling of embarrassment and potential shame of what's people going to think if they know this or that. They're going to think what they've been thinking. You either love me or you don't. And either and both are okay. This goes for everyone. They either love you or they don't. And both are okay. So if you're going to live your life, try to make sure that you don't upset the people who don't love you. That's so much time and effort wasted because those people have been looking for reasons to validate their negative feelings towards you. They were never around to understand you. They were simply looking for reasons to justify their unfair hatred of you. And when you see that, I mean, does it really matter at that point? Does it have anything to do with you at all? No, it doesn't. Because typically what ends up happening is the people who are doing this, they identify something within you. That is a reflection of something within them. And they can't stand it. They can't stand it. So is it really about you? And sometimes this applies to romantic relationships, sometimes platonic friendships, sometimes coworkers, sometimes strangers. Is it even really about you? Probably not. 99% of the time, it's not. When you people see someone, okay, I'll use me as an example. You see me and you're like, oh my God, I love her. She's so like real and honest. She has such a huge heart. Guess what? Those are reflections of your truth, of your honesty, of your heart that you've been so afraid to share with other people because what will they think of me? And the only difference between you and I in this moment is I've lost my fear. I've lost my fear. I spent an entire year last year with people trying to be my best friend only to demonize me as soon as they were done using me. Literally going out of their way to try and tear down my livelihood, my business, to literally paint me as a demon. Say all kind of nasty, nasty shit about me with no provocation, none. And I'm the kind of person, if I did something, I will admit to it. I had someone come on my live and be like, oh, did you accidentally block so-and-so? No, that wasn't an accident. I intentionally blocked them. I intentionally banned them during the live stream. And it's not that I have ill intention or bad feelings towards them. Our energies are just not compatible. So I banned them. I found them very disruptive. And I banned them. And I have no intention of unbanning. But they'll be fine. They'll find other people to inspire them. I can own up to what the fuck I do. So who cares what people say about you? If you're going to love someone, love them. Don't be so worried about what other people are going to say about how you're not being in the relationship properly, that you're so stupid for staying and you're so this and that. And it's like, so many of us are guilty of this, okay? There are things that go on in the relationship. 72% at 729, 999. So there are things that go on in the relationship. You get pissed off, you get frustrated, you need to vent. So what do? You do what everyone else does. You go find your bestest friends. You confide in them. Do you do that when things are really good? Do you go and run and tell your bestest friends, oh my God, he just made me feel like I'm the only girl in this world and that he adores me and would grovel at my feet just to show me how much he loves? Do you run and tell your girlfriend that? You don't. So those people who are giving you advice, regardless of their intention, because usually their intention is a really good intention. They love you. They're your best friend. And all they hear is all the negative. So when they're giving you advice, they're giving you advice based off of only negative things that happen in your relationship. And I came to this realization years ago. And I realized I should not be giving anyone advice. I'm not there when he's like, making you feel like a queen, like a goddess, rubbing your feet, saying all kinds of beautiful nothings in your ear. I'm not there. How am I going to judge, condemn, and then crucify something I don't even know the details? And you won't find many people with that kind of mindset. Many people will take that opportunity and be like, he's fucked up. He's a dog. Yeah. Yeah. Based off of what? Based off of hearing only but the negatives in that relationship. So how are they giving you a very honest opinion about the relationship? I mean, is it their intention to hurt you? Not necessarily. But if all you're going to hear is negative stuff, then yeah, they're going to say those things. And then what's going to happen? The truth of your relationship then starts to bubble up after you've calmed down. And you're like, fuck, I don't want to leave. Now I'm going to look so stupid if I stay. That's one hell of a situation that you've gotten yourself into. And I remember it wasn't that long ago. I got really, really pissed off at my husband. And I was like, I called one of my freaking closest friends and I was like, I'm so fucking tired of him and talking all this shit. And then I was like, oh, well, but okay. Because I'm like, he's so fucking lazy. And then I was like, oh, okay. No, he's not. Well, he takes care of the kids while I'm working, which is from like 7 a.m. until, 11 p.m. And he does do all the dishes and all the laundry. And then he homeschools the kids. And if I need anything, he drops what he's doing. And he runs all my and then after just like 2 minutes I was like, I'm an asshole. And then my girlfriend was like, well, at least you worked it out. You feel better? I was like, oh, I'm such an ass. I'm so fucking ungrateful. It's ridiculous. But unless you have friends that can listen in that way, where they're like, okay, go ahead, make a list. Make a list. I'll hear it out. Make a list. Why are you mad? And then the other half of that list, the good stuff. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not even ashamed to admit I'm just a little bit cray in a lot of way. A little lottle. So you guys, there's no such thing as perfection. There really isn't. He loves sniffing me. It's one of these things that I would have never learned had I allowed my pride to get in the way, because for many years that pride of mine was insane. Was insane. And I know every single one of you are capable of having this kind of bond with someone else if you get out of your own way. Do you have to be with someone? No. You can live your life perfectly fine single. You don't need to have a partner in life. And if you're thinking like, "Oh, I don't have a partner," and that's just proof that I can't function. No. That's a lie. That's a lie. You don't need a partner. You don't. Sometimes what you need is to stop looking for someone else to complete you. Sometimes what you need is to be alone with yourself to figure out who you are. Like for me, I need someone there because I'm so good at being alone that I would prefer to be alone. I would prefer to be very silent and very, very alone, and I'm perfectly okay with that. But does that grow me? No, it doesn't. So what you need is what grows you. If a relationship is what's going to grow you, then that's what you need. If silence and singledom is what's going to grow you, then that's what you need. Stop with this whole, like, I'm already what age and I still don't have this and I still don't have. You can't live life by numbers. You can't live life by numbers. You can't compare your journey with someone else's, because then it becomes not your journey anymore. You can't expect to have the kind of interactions other couples have with each other when you haven't experienced the kind of turmoil that they experienced and decided, actively chose to work through. And I tell you this, you will never, ever, ever have the kind of relationship that I have with my husband if you are not willing to admit when you are wrong, if you're not willing to see when you are wrong, because he and I, we take turns doing this, recognizing when we're wrong and not just doing it quietly. Okay. And one of the things that I learned that was so ridiculously toxic, and I hope you guys really, really hear this. When we would argue and I would get triggered, I would not give him a way to back out with grace. I had to keep going and going and going until I knew, like, yeah, I just dominated you. And what does that do? What does that do? Destroy trust. It makes them feel as though they are not safe with you. And I'm not talking about like physically beating him. Like, he is not safe with his emotions sharing of himself. And so he will no longer share of himself. And is that his fault? Or did I create that? And you have to be able to really, really be honest with yourself. You are co-creating every circumstance. Co-creating every single circumstance. No, Boogie Oogie says we just don't realize our ego makes us do that. We just focus on sending how they make us feel back, but it's not productive. No, that's an excuse. No. I love in such a way that I won't allow you to make excuses. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. You hurt, so you're hurting back. That's a bullshit excuse to hurt someone. It's very common. but it's still bullshit. And until you can rise above that by claiming ownership of what you did, because you can't claim ownership over another person, but you can claim ownership of your behaviors and the consequences of those behaviors. And once I realized, like, man, I'm forcing this man to live in a fucking war zone, and he's just trying to cultivate peace, and he has no choice because I'm so fucking combative, warrior energy. He has no choice but to try and defend himself like a warrior would, and that's why we keep butting heads. And now it's like we live in a war zone. And who did that? I did that. I did that. Because for pretty much most of my life, that's all I know. All I knew was how to fight in a war. Growing up in a war zone, all you know is war. Does that mean you're incapable of peace? No. It means once you recognize what peace is, once you taste the sweet softness of peace, you now know what that war skill can defend. You now have an idea of what is worth defending, what is worth protecting, what you're willing to go to war for. And then suddenly you have direction. Suddenly you understand your journey. Suddenly you realize this person that I've been warring with this whole time, this person that I've been thinking is like, you're not as strong as me because you don't war like I do, is actually more powerful than you, because in that softness, they help to heal you without you even realizing it. They help to teach you love without you even realizing it. And it was done in such a peaceful ass way that you couldn't even fight it. And you just woke up one day like, holy shit, that's love. Holy shit. Wow. And had I listened to my ego, I would have never had that wow moment. Would have never had that wow moment. So how do you love someone who has grown up in a war zone and wants to control everything? Daddy, are you on this live? Is he on here? Telling him when I get off the live. Were you on the live with me? He's like, yeah. Were you on the live? Okay, there he is. Would you like to answer that? How do you love someone? How do you love someone like me? Because I wanted to control everything. For a period of our marriage, I wanted to control everything. Not to control just to show I'm powerful, but to control because I didn't trust anything or anyone. Oh. He said, you just love. And that's what he did. He just loved. Not with any intentions, not with any motives. He just loved. And even in the ugliest of uglies, like the ugliest of uglies, and man, you guys have no idea how ugly I can get. He just loved. And our arguments for a while, a lot of it was like, why can't you fucking understand? I just want to love you. And I didn't get it. I honestly didn't get it because such a huge part of me, 61% at 743, 777. A huge part of me um couldn't comprehend how I could be worthy of love. I couldn't understand. And it's so simple, but it's just so powerfully true. You just love. And loving doesn't tell it's you don't tell them that you need to be this and you need to be that. He's never done that to me ever. Ever. He's never told me to change anything about myself. He has been very honest with me and told me you're fucking crazy right now. And then he's like, I like it. But you need to fucking stop. It's fucking crazy. And see, when someone loves everything about you, and this isn't true for everyone, okay? But for many of us, those of us who feel like we're not worthy of being loved because we don't know how to love ourselves. Sometimes when someone just loves everything about you, it helps you to understand exactly what that love is. It frees you from your own mental cage, your mental prison that you've put yourself into because you've spent your entire life basically hearing that nobody loves you. You know, even if those weren't the words that were said, sometimes it's in the silence. If you didn't get attention as a child, like that's the message. That's the risk of the silence. This misinterpretation that the silence means lack of love, unworthiness. It's just, you know, I think one of the most powerful things that he has done to empower me is to just consistently remind me, even through the ugliest of my uglies, I just want to love you. I just want to take care of you. I just want to love you and take care of you. And you can fucking be crazy all you want, but I'm not leaving your side because that's what I was used to, you know? And I just told you guys, I actually prefer solitude. I don't want to interact with other people. I want to just be alone, be by myself. That's what I'm used to. And he totally was like, well, we can be alone together. We can be alone together. I just sit here, you know? And, if we're being, um, if we're being really blunt, really honest, if I were to make a list of, when I was at the age that I met my husband, if I was to make a list of features of who I would date, it probably, you guys would have never guessed that I would be with him, and he's not an ugly man. He gets attention from quite a few people. But I had this concept in my head because of all these fucking movies that I watched that this is how it's going to be. This is the kind of guy that I'm going to be with. But there was something when I met him, and I met him a few times. There was something that my heart just knew, like, this is not a regular guy. And I kept trying to convince myself, nah, he's just your friend. They're probably going to stop calling you after a couple weeks. He's just your friend. Mm-mm. He ain't just my friend. But like I say, and women aren't the only ones guilty of this. We come up with this bullshit ass list of things that we want in our relationship, and it's because you watch too many fucking movies. That's brainwashing you into thinking that what's real isn't enough. You have to have this like fake shit to impress other people, and that's the real. No, it's not a real relationship. It's not. This fake shit of like, oh, he took me to blah blah blah, and he bought me this and that, and oh, so are you in a relationship or is that your show pony? And don't get me wrong, my husband buys me all kind of stuff. I'm just like, would you stop? He gets me a whole bunch of stuff all the time, and I'm kind of just like, I don't need all that. I don't need all that. But we come up with these ideas of how things are supposed to be. And I'm so fucking glad he was so cocky when he met me. Because it was in that and I hate cocky people, but it was in that cockiness. I was like, this motherfucker, what the hell does he know that he's so cocky, sauntering all up in here, like, you gonna want me? Like, who the fuck are you? You don't know me. I don't want you. Oh, I did. I so did. I so did. And if we're going to be really, really honest, the first time I ever saw him, I already knew. I was like, I want to marry someone like that. And we didn't even talk. All we said was hi to each other. And that was it. And then I didn't see him again for a whole year, like he never existed for a whole year. And then our paths crossed again. And then I realized that concept that I had of how my life is supposed to be, what kind of guy I'm supposed to end up with, and that was all bullshit. That was all bullshit. Because guess what? All of those details that I had pre-planned for my life, those were all things that I thought I wanted in a life partner because it would impress everyone around me. That's some real shit right there. Because I thought that if I had that kind of, life and partner and this and that I would look like I came up. And it was all bullshit. It was all bullshit. It was all bullshit. And I'm so glad he was so cocky. And I'll tell you guys how cocky he was, okay? At the time that I met him again, when we finally actually connected, I was working at a retail shop. I was working at Victoria's Secret. And I had a box cutter in my hand and I was cutting down boxes, right? And he was with a large group of guys and I think like one or two girls. And he goes and he pushes, I think the only girl in their group, into my shop and tells her, go get her number. And so this girl comes up to me looking nervous as hell. She's like, one of my friends wants your number. And I was like, I don't know if he's crazy. If he wants my number, he needs to come in my store and ask for himself. And usually that's enough, Guys get embarrassed and they're like, ooh, I don't want none of that. This fool came into the store. He came back into the store, and I still remember he took a pump of lotion at the front of the store because he's a bougie ass man. He took a pump of lotion at the front of the store, walked all the way to the back of the store with pep in his step. He's like, hi. Who is you? And then he was like, my friend told me to come back in here. that I needed to ask for your number myself. And that she didn't know, that you didn't know if I was crazy. And then he starts telling me his name, where he went to school. I was like, well, oops, what? What? And then he asked me for my phone number, and I was like, so thrown off that he wasn't afraid of me. He wasn't intimidated by me. And he ended up getting my real number. And I usually would give people a fake number. 756-3421. That was a number. And, he ended up getting the real number because I was like, who the hell comes back into the store after that? And he just come back into the store. He came, faced me with no apologies, fucking buttering himself up. That was like, and then he left the store. And I was like, what the fuck just happened? One of my coworkers comes over and she's like, what was that? I was like, I don't know. I don't like that. And she goes, you realize you gave him your real number, right? Oh, no. I was like, oh, no. And she goes, shit, he got my real number. And then maybe and I couldn't stop thinking about it. I was like, I know his face. I know his face. Where do I know him from? And 30 minutes later, that's that guy. I had met him a year before, but we both were in doomed relationships. Literally, both of our relationships at the time were pretty much ending. It was not 2 years. It was 1 year. Okay? Wait. Maybe you're right. Why are you keeping such close track? You keep saying 2 years. Okay, you're right. You're right. He said 2 years. We met in 97 the first time. Then we met again in 99. That's fine. You can have that one for the win. But yeah, no, I remember, guys, I knew I don't want someone like that. But he was with a girl, so I was just like, I don't want that. Someone like that, not that. That one's already taken. I don't want taken stuff. I don't like used things. But yeah, I remember it, and I was like, hey, do we know each other? He called. He actually called. He didn't play no games. He didn't wait no couple days just to make me. No, he called. Not long after I realized that I knew him, he called my cell phone, and I was like, hey, do you know so-and-so? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, ew, you're that guy. I like that guy, though. Yeah, that night, he called that same night, 30 minutes later. He left. As soon as they were done harassing me, they left the mall, and then he went home and he called me. Was that how it happened? I don't know. I think that's how it happened. And then he picked me up an hour after I got off work. Uh-huh. And as if that wasn't enough, when he picked me up to go on our first date, hours after he got my number. No.
I waited a day.
No, it was that same night.
No, I waited a day.
Well, I did say 1 year, and you realized it was 2.
I waited a day because I didn't want to be that thirsty guy.
But you are thirsty.
Water, baby.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Keep rubbing your nipple. Anyways, our first date, and I love the fact that he was so fucking real. Our first date, he didn't take me out to dinner. He picked me up, and I was like, where are we going? You'll see. What do you mean you'll see? Where the hell are you taking me? He took me to his friend's house. because he's part of a race crew, and there must have been like 50 of them there. That's where he took me. And then if that wasn't enough, so we arrive and he helps me out of the car. And then all his friends, his guy friends, swarm around the car. And I'm like, oh, it's a lot of people. I'm a little bit introverted. And I was like, oh my God. And then I look over and he's gone. And so what ended up happening, his friends interrogated me for like an hour. For like an hour. And I was like, who the fuck is this guy? Oh my God, did he just leave me here? But he didn't leave because I'm like, the car is still here. Turns out he wanted his friends to make sure. To make sure. And I passed the test. Okay? I passed the test. I was like, you're an asshole, dude. How are you just gonna leave someone you don't even know at a party where she knows nobody? Like, he didn't realize that, unlike his Gemini charismatic self, I'm introverted. Okay, so going back to the topic, and then we're gonna go. Figure yourself out. Figure out why you do the things you do. Stop putting it off on someone else. Stop trying to convince yourself it's because of someone else that you feel this way. They're not the issue. They are nothing more than an external representation of an internal circumstance. No more. No more making excuses for yourself. If you want to be in a relationship that is spiritually evolved, you have to allow yourself to evolve. Someone else is not going to cause you to evolve. They might present as the triggers that can spark that catalytic event, but it's you that has to burn for the light to shine. Okay? You can't expect to be burning other people. You just can't. Take responsibility for yourself. Take responsibility for what you co-create. There's no more need to blame. That's not part of an evolved relationship. That's not part of an evolved consciousness. There are no victims. There are co-created circumstances. People might try and victimize you, but you survive everything in your life thus far. Whatever made you think you're not going to survive this? And in addition to that, whatever made you think surviving was the main point of life? Because it's not. You're not here to just simply survive. You're here to thrive. And we're entering an age where soul wants us to begin thriving. And in order to thrive, you have to get to know yourself. You have to get to know yourself and the way you are reflected through other people. People are what you need them to be. And that's just the truth. People are what you need them to be. That's all they will ever be for you. So if you need to have a villain in your life, then you will find one in your life. If you need someone to inspire you, then that's what you'll find in your life. Inspiration in other people. So if you're constantly looking for ways in which this relationship is not working, ways in which it's going to fail, then it will. But if you're constantly looking for ways in which this relationship is growing you, as long as you are growing, you will be in that relationship. And it's not to claim ownership over anyone else. It's not to be able to say that you have someone. You don't have anyone but yourself. People are not guaranteed to stay in your life for the rest of your life. And you're going to have to love them enough to free them. That's just that. Like I said, if at any point one of us chooses to continue our journey alone without the other, there will be no love lost. There will be no dividing of assets. There will simply be a continuance of this love. Because love is not supposed to chain, it's not supposed to enslave, it's not meant to be a cage. At most, love can be a crutch, it can be a pedestal, it can also be the freaking sledgehammer that tears down your walls. Whatever you need love to be, that's what it's going to be. Love is multifaceted, it is a dynamic, energetic force. And we have to stop confining love into such a limited box that it's crippling us. I'm not talking about open relationships. I'm talking about loving yourself enough to see that when you chain someone else, when you take ownership of someone else, that's you enslaving yourself. You know, they call it a ball and chain for a reason. You're enslaving yourself. So with my husband, with my relationship, he's so much more than a husband. That's just a federal technicality. That title is a federal technicality. What he is to me, it can't even be quantified. But if I were to choose like one thing, quite possibly the greatest teacher I'll ever have in this life, teaching me through softness, through actions, not by lecturing, not by criticizing, not by doing any of those things that people think they need to do in order to show that they love you. Just by letting me be me, giving me the freedom to be who I am without shame, without limitations. It's a beautiful thing when you can find that, even if it's just a friend. And if you can't find that, create it. The law of reciprocal reflection dictates whatever you create will be reflected back at you. So if you can't find that, be it. And whoever you're doing that for or with, you'll see when you're pure in this intention and you're focused in creating this, they will begin to choose to co-create it with you. My husband was pure in his intention to create this. I was combative. And it took a long time. But his patience gave me the freedom and the opportunity to come to terms with the parts of me that still are fractured. But I'm still whole. Even in those fractures, I'm still a whole being. And he helped me to realize that. And in my realization, I began to reflect what he's cultivated all these years. And no one can really take credit for that because we did this together. It took his patience to really make this work, but we did this together. We co-created this. One is not lifted higher than the other. We're shoulder to shoulder walking together. And if you can do that, if you're willing to do that, life changes. Your perspective changes. You evolve. Evolve in ways you never thought you could. And this is not because of someone else. This is because you finally become centered in the truth of who you are. And they simply assisted, supported, acted as a crutch when you needed something to lean on. And that's important. It's important for you to understand people can be leaned on, but they can never be your legs. Okay? So I'm off to the gym for part 2. I gotta go work out again. You guys, thank you so much for sharing this space with me, both Facebook and YouTube. I really, really appreciate you being open to me sharing my thoughts. These are just my thoughts. You don't have to take them in as your truth. Just kind of think about it. Think about the things that I've said. It might not resonate. It might resonate a lot. No matter what, I'm grateful. I'm grateful that you shared this space with me, that you stopped and shared your thoughts with me, that you just are here as a part of my journey. It's huge. To me, it's huge. It's very, very huge that people would be willing to hear anything that comes from me. And this is not for a lack of confidence or self-worth. This is a recognition that without you, my purpose means nothing. You guys are my purpose. So we do this together. From the deepest depths of my heart's oceans. I love you guys a lot. A lot. So I will see you again very, very soon. Bye, guys.